If you knew me 2 to 3 years ago, you'd agree on one thing. I always had this persistent, severe acne. And the thing with acne is that it messes up your self esteem. Back then, if someone stared at me for a couple of minutes, what would go through my mind is, oh, maybe the person is trying to figure out why I have so much acne on my face. I wouldn't think of any other thing. And because of that, it made me resort to using distractions like sunglasses, face caps, just anything that would distract people from like staring. And the thing with health challenges that people can see is that everyone is coming with their recommendation, everyone is coming with their prescription, you know, Google School of Medicine, everyone is telling you what to do. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And the mental implication is that you're so anxious to just get, I don't know, you just want a solution as fast as. So, because of this, you'll be tempted to try as much as. And then, if you are not addressing the root cause, like in my case, like I said, the hormonal imbalance, if you are not addressing the root cause, you'll just be running around in circles. You know how you run around in circles, there's no end. It will just be a vicious cycle of, oh, I tried this, let me try this one. If it doesn't work, I'll try this one. And then it's the expectations that hurt because you actually try it and then it doesn't work. And then you really, really wanted it to work. You really expected this would be like your last resort, but it didn't work. So a little backstory. Back then when I was in uni, I had I had symptoms of hormonal imbalance. I had really heavy periods. And yeah, just that. I had really heavy periods. I didn't have acne, nothing. So my mom suggested I like sought professional opinion at the time. So we went to see this gynecologist that came highly recommended. So I got to the hospital. I saw other women. I had an appointment. So I went to see the nurse at the front desk. It was a private sort of mission establishment. So I went there with my card and then I was allowed to see him. There were lots of things that were like really off. For one, I was not under 18. I was well over 18, but somehow he let my mom stay without even asking. He didn't ask for consent. Oh, can this person? And I pointed it to him. But I thought we're supposed to have like doctor-patient confidentiality. There are things that, okay, I would like to tell you in person and wouldn't want anyone else to have knowledge of what I'm going to tell you. And he was like, no, that it didn't matter. I'm like, you're still supposed to ask. My mom was a little offended because my mom is African, so she was offended. Oh, okay, now you want to kick me out. I'm like, no, that is not it. So this guy, he literally went from a physical examination to telling me, oh, you have growing myomas. I'm like, growing myoma. Okay, I understand that I may be a good candidate for myomas because I hadn't given birth at the time. I haven't still given birth. What am I even saying? Okay, so I told him that I was shocked. I told him, don't you need like an ultrasound for you to make that diagnosis? He said no. And then my mom was really worried because she thought maybe fibroids only happened in older women and she was really worried. And I told her I was still a student, so she really wanted solution to my supposed problem. So this man took advantage of my mom being like worried, anxious, and he said he was going to prescribe drugs to shrink the myomas. I don't know if there's been any medical advancements that okay, there are drugs that shrink myomas, but I have never heard of it. I just know if you have growing myomas, you get a myomectomy. But this guy said he was going to give me drugs to shrink the myomas. The drugs came, and you know how like hospitals actually give drugs. They were not giving like packets. They were dispensed drugs. But I got someone to look at the drugs for me, and they were mostly multivites, and he took a lot of money for it. I do not have health insurance, and some people in my country have it, but it's not that serious. You can just go and then pay in cash to get medical help. So he took a lot of money from my mom. He said it was going to take two batches of these drugs to actually shrink this supposed myomas. So I wouldn't say it didn't get to me at some point. You know, when you're brainwashed, it got to me at some point. So I kind of believed him. I'm like, okay, I have all these symptoms that maybe, just maybe, I may actually have growing myomas. But then I still went for that scan. When I got there, the sonographer was like, why did you come? I'm like, I had this diagnosis of myomas and I really wasn't convinced. And I wanted to get a scan before getting an official second opinion. And she's like, "Ah, you do not have such stuff. Your womb is as clean as it can come." I'm like, okay. So that really made me debunk. I didn't really think of getting another opinion. I didn't think of getting a second opinion. I just ran with that scan. So this happened, okay, after like 2, 3 years after, that's when I had this severe outbreak of hormonal acne. I sought medical help. I tried everything. When I say everything, I tried literally everything. Nothing worked. At first, I was placed on birth control pills. It made me gain so much weight. So I discontinued the pills. And then I tried skincare routines. And then this is another thing I really want to put out. If you do not address the elephant in the room, like the hormonal imbalance I talked about, or maybe you have like other medical condition, maybe you have PCOS, and then you're doing skincare routines to treat severe acne. Like I said earlier, you'll be running around in circles, like you just keep going. So it didn't work. So like I said earlier, persistent acne dealt with me. Apart from having impact on my self-esteem issues, it's also impacted negatively on my mental health. I was very depressed because I just kept trying, or it's not a good feeling. I just kept trying all these solution prescriptions, or is it the snide comments and reactions I got from people? Do you know that in this age and time, some people still think that acne stems from maybe hygiene issues or some other things, weird things that people think causes acne. Hormonal imbalance can cause a range of symptoms, a lot. So today I'm going to start with the reproductive symptoms. Hormonal imbalance can cause reproductive symptoms like irregular periods, change of cycles, like a period is just not regular. It can also cause infertility, that's difficulty in getting pregnant. It can also cause miscarriages. Yes, hormonal imbalance can cause miscarriages, and it can also cause medical conditions like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. This can also cause physical symptoms that you may likely not take seriously, like weight gain, hair loss, hot flashes at night. You know, this really happens during menopause. So you're not close to menopause. So if you're having like what do they call it, night hot flashes at night, you wouldn't really take it seriously, but this is a symptom of hormonal imbalance. Also drenching night sweats too. There are also emotional and mental symptoms of hormonal imbalance. For example, the anxiety and depression I talked about, they just come as a full package. People tend to ignore the reproductive symptoms and the mental symptoms that I mentioned. People are always focused on the physical symptoms. Oh, why am I losing hair? Hormonal imbalance also comes with emotional and mental symptoms. So you may notice you have anxiety, that your anxiety or that depression you have, it may just be an indicator that your hormones are not balanced. So I mentioned anxiety, depression, insomnia, memory problems, also sleep disturbances. Did you know that hormonal imbalance can also cause thyroid problems, can cause an underactive or overactive thyroid, and can also cause imbalances in your blood sugar, can actively cause spikes in your blood sugar. Like, hormones can actually do a lot in our bodies. Remember, they are chemical messengers, so they can be really helpful, and they can really do a lot if they are not balanced. So this should be like a source of concern if you have all these symptoms that I mentioned. So a couple of things can actually cause hormonal imbalance. The first is genetic predisposition. If you have family history of hormonal imbalance, like all those symptoms I mentioned, if you have any family history of it, people in your family actually experience this, anything that points to hormonal imbalance, you may be just a good candidate for hormonal imbalance. Also, if you actually have like a poor diet, you do mostly processed foods and foods that are high in unsaturated fats, you are predisposed to having hormonal imbalance. Exposure to environmental toxins, that's chemicals that can affect the endocrine gland, can also cause hormonal imbalance. We also have poor, okay, I mentioned poor diet, yeah. Chronic stress can also cause hormonal imbalance. So, like I said, other medical conditions like PCOS, I mentioned, can cause hormonal imbalance. Diagnosis for hormonal imbalance are typically a hormone level test. This can be gotten from like a blood test. So when you get to the hospital, you'll be required to do blood test. Can also be done by pelvic exams, like for example, to check for symptoms, like in my case, the myoma, yeah? To check just nothing major, a pelvic exam to check for abnormalities. It can also be diagnosed with imaging tests like ultrasound. Yes, you can also do like an ultrasound to check for any abnormalities. Then for treatment, lifestyle changes are your go-to. Like you need to make adjustments to things like maybe your diet. If your diet is mostly of processed foods or unsaturated fats, like I mentioned earlier, you'd have to adjust that. You make sure that you exercise regularly. Just look out for these are just things that make the medications work. Adjustments of lifestyle. Also, you'd be prescribed medications. Like in my case, I was prescribed birth control pills to regulate my menstrual cycle and take care of the whole hormonal imbalance thing. There are other medications you can also be placed on that will really, really help you. So if you're in this situation, I just advise that you seek medical help. Do not ignore, even if you're a teenager, you know this thing they say, oh, you'd actually grow out of it. It's good you address your medical issues on time. Like I always say, it gives you better prognosis. So there is no harm. It's still beneficial if you get a medical opinion on those symptoms that you are having. So that is it for hormonal imbalance in women. I hope you got value from this video, and I'd like to see you in my next video. So if you've not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and please like the video. Tell me in the comments what time you're seeing this video to.